Hey, what's going on, shrimp keepers? It is Friday, which means a fish room Friday, and today we're transitioning from all the Columbus area fish rooms to the Youngstown fish rooms. And no better way to start off than showing you guys my personal fish room, which I haven't done a full fish room tour on in a long time, and I've never done a full video on where I go over all the tanks, the filtration, the water change process, how I did lighting, different things like that. So I'm going to go over all that in this video. So it's going to be a long video. Feel free to skip around to the point that you want to see. And so it's going to be really cool. This is probably going to be, I'm probably just going to talk about the shrimp room today. And then next Friday I'll go into the planted tank rack and the Caridina rack. And so let's get into it. It's going to be a good video. Hopefully you guys enjoy. And then stay tuned. So this is going to be good. All right. So this first whole rack, this is consisting of 12 tanks, 6 40 breeders, and 6 20 longs, and that is the same for all of these racks. This is going to be the black tiger and blue tiger rack. Granted, not all the tanks are there yet, but it's getting there. And so let's go ahead and get into what's in each tank currently, and it'll be good. So first of all, you see the tiger shrimp. These are Caridina genus. They're pretty easy to keep. They won't crossbreed with any of the neos, and so they're actually being kept with cull neos right now. And these guys were just kind of a mistake. I put them in here, and then somehow they just started breeding. So now there's a nice little colony of them in here, probably about 20 or 30, and so they're doing all right. Next tank is a Bloody Mary tank. This tank never really took off, to be honest. I think there was only enough that I sold out of it one time, and then it just kind of died off from there. But there's a buried one. So this will be moving to the red rack pretty soon. This is a Blue Dream tank. This tank's actually beautiful. I love it. It's got subwasser tank. That's a big piece of Malaysian driftwood, and the subwasser tank kind of took over. So this is a fun tank, but again, getting broken down because it's on the wrong rack. But very nice Blue Dreams in here. They've been in here for probably 4 or 5 generations now. And they're doing okay. They're doing okay. Next one, this is a royal blue tank and a chocolate tank. And so it's hard to tell the difference in the video. There's even some black tigers in here too. This tank just needs broken down and reset. But there's a good amount of shrimp in here. There's also a ton of assassin snails. They seem to not bother the shrimp too much, at least in this tank, although they are known for bothering shrimp in other tanks. They actually breed quite regularly in here. I think I started off with maybe 10 assassin snails. Now I would say there's at least 20 to 30 in here at the bare minimum. But again, getting broken down, reset. These 2 tanks down below have nothing in them currently. Once I start breaking tanks down and moving stuff, that's when those are going to get filled up. And there's 2 more of those. This is a black tiger tank. I love the coloration of these guys, to be honest. These are one of my favorite type of shrimp because it's the coloration on them, the patterns that they have are never regular. They're always different. I'm trying to see if that one's buried. Oh, I think she is. See her in the middle of the screen? Let me point this one right here. I'm pretty sure she is. That makes me extremely happy. I set this tank up in the beginning of September, I believe. Yeah, September, and to finally start seeing some buried females in here is really nice. I do have some cherry shrimp in here too, but you know, they're just in there because I didn't have another tank for them. That is so exciting, you guys. You have no idea how happy that makes me. And then over here we have another black tiger tank. As you can see, the coloration on these guys is just fantastic. They're no one shrimp is alike. They're all different, and you really get some cool colors on here. So I'm really hopeful now that I saw that buried female that there are going to be more buried females. That big one might be buried in the back, and so yeah, that's really exciting news. This is a royal blue tank. Let me see if I can get. The royal blues are doing really well. There's not too many in here anymore. There's probably only about, I'd say 60 to 80 in here. Again, they're not all eating right now. I did that one shrimp Saturday on them, and I pretty much sold all of my royal blues. So now I'm just trying to build up colonies, reestablish them, and get them really going. So this is one that this colony I've had set up the longest. This was, I think, the first shrimp tank I ever had in this warehouse. And so royal blues are definitely special to me and mean a lot to me. And they're how I met my wife. That's a whole nother story. I'll have to tell you guys about that sometime. Another royal blue colony. This one has a little bit more shrimp, I would say. Again, doing really well. There's some bigger ones in there, so hopefully they'll get to breeding and burying up as well. Hopefully, fingers crossed, there are some buried ones in there. And so it's a process, and hoping that we'll start picking up breeding here in a while. Next tank, this is the miscellaneous tiger rack, and so a lot of the tanks just got broken down. This is a Tangerine tiger tank. Let me see, they're all down here eating. I just saw yesterday, my wife pointed out there's some buried females, and so you can see there's 2 of them back there, and so that's really good news. I've waited for a long time to get this tank to start breeding, and finally after about a year they're starting to take off, so that's extremely great news. This is one of the newer tanks that I set up. This is a 40-gallon breeder, Matan filter. It does have a sponge filter in there, even though it doesn't need it now. I just left it in there to make sure it was cycled, and so that tank is finally doing good. This is a tank that's getting broken down. This is the Michelin Tank. As you can see, there's tons of shrimp, and then there's a couple Taiwan bees. There's a lot of crystal blacks, some golden, some crystal reds. There's a panda right there, if it would focus. But yeah, so this tank always does really well. It'll be exciting to break it down and reset it and get all those things done. This is a I don't even know what to call this. I mean, it's basically crystal blacks, but at some point along the line there was a tiger that got mixed in here, and so there's been some funky patterns, but I mean, they're pretty as can be. So I don't have the heart to get rid of them. I'm just going to move them to a new tank and kind of let them do their thing and see what comes of them, because honestly I think they're really pretty, even though I don't know what they are. I used to have Malawi shrimp in here. I moved those to a new tank. This tank's awesome. I love the way it looks, to be honest, besides that crappy sponge. But the Swasser tank just does awesome. There's narrow-leaf Java fern in here, and just all around does a well job. This tank I didn't really show it. This has some sick narrow-leaf Java fern, some nauseous grass or guppy grass, and so that's good. These were the 2 crystal red tanks. Those got broken down and moved to the Caridina rack. This is another Michelin tank, or not Michelin. These are just mud crystal reds and blacks. It's a lot of goldens in there, and these were supposed to be crystal blacks when I bought them, but as you can see, they bred into a bunch of different stuff. So I think they are Michelins. Now that I think about it, I think I got some Taiwan bees out of them. This tank is just for Swasser tank right now. It needs broken down and reset and all that kind of jazz. Is a PRL tank. Some really nice ones in here, but again, some not so nice ones too. But this tank, I don't know why, it has always done well. And as you can see, like, that filter is barely working. That one's going pretty good though. For whatever reason, they just always have done really well in these. I got these from Scott Bauer originally. He's on a lot of the Facebook groups, so huge shout out to him. He bred some hardy shrimp. I've had these for probably over a year now, probably close to 2 years actually, and they are hardy, and so I'm really impressed with his line. So shout out to Scott Bauer. These are tiger shrimp. Again, the reset up tank with the Matan filters. That's how I'm doing all the tanks now. These guys look pretty good. There's not a ton of them because they're hard to find right now, to be honest. So I'm glad I just got a hold of some of them. The wife bought these for me, which is really cool of her. And so hopefully they get taking off and breeding. These are the Super Tigers. The only difference is just how big the stripe are, how thick the stripes are. And so this tank's doing really well. I was worried about these guys. I've had them for a long time. They just kept having random die-offs. So luckily I got them transitioned to a new tank. where it seems that they're doing a lot better. So excited to get these breeding well and really get them introduced back to the United States marketplace, really, for the hobby, to start spreading these amongst all of you and hopefully increase their popularity. Up here is the Aurora Blue tank. Not a ton of shrimp in here. This was a tank that originally, I think I paid like $30 per Aurora Blue and got like 10 of them, and then they all died, but luckily one of them had babies, and then those babies grew up, and out of those babies some of them bred and lived, and then those ones died. Now I'm stuck with about 30 to 40 babies that are now juveniles, and so hopefully I have some great success with these guys. Really excited about these shrimp. They're extremely hard to find and exceptionally beautiful. So this is a species I'm really looking forward to working with. Really looking forward to. So that tank needs some love though. I want to separate them and get them to a happy place. This is an old crystal red tank that I just broke, or that I don't want to confuse this. I'll get heck for it. My wife broke it down. She caught the shrimp out of them and moved it somewhere else. But there is a little baby right there. You guys can see that. Yeah. This tank we just reset. We're moving some orange lilies that are in here. We're gonna put them over here because this is the orange and yellow Neo rack. And so, as you can see, there's some oranges right here. There's a good amount of babies in here. You can see some on the back glass. There's one right there. And so it's nice that these guys are still doing well. I did lose, I want to say I lost 5 to 6 of the adults, but you know, it happens. They were just getting out of the red zone, so they were failing to molt and different things like that. So it is what it is. This is the yellow tank. I don't think too much breeding is going on in here yet. But these guys I've had for a long time. I just transitioned them to this tank with a new kind of setup, new pH, and so I'm looking forward to these starting to do well. And I haven't really had any die off in here, which is a great thing, and just looking forward to that breeding. This is a tiger shrimp tank. The glass is disgusting, so we'll never be able to see into it. I don't even know how many are still in there, to be honest. There's one right here, so there's at least a handful of them in here. This tank needs transition to the miscellaneous tiger rack. And then we got more yellows. These yellows are beautiful. Have not been breeding yet. These are originally imported, and so I've been having some trouble with them. But I'm really hopeful that they will at least breed once, and I'll be able to get that colony going. And then this one you guys saw, this was an orange really tank that just got broken down. This was a cherry shrimp tank that just got broken down. This was an old blue velvet tank that just needs broken down. There's no shrimp in it. These are Colombian ram's horn snails that I was breeding for a little while. You can't ship these between state lines, and no one really wants them around here, so unfortunately I will have to get rid of them. But they were fun, and they're pretty to look at. They really are. And there's also some blue realies in here, which are how they created the blue velvet. They just bred out the red stripes and just kept the blue. But yeah, so I'm still gonna keep those guys. I gotta move them over to the red rack. This is a chocolate rabbit snail tank, which also has tiger shrimp in it, and then some crazy shrimp that I'm really not sure what it is. It was sold as a shoot, I don't even remember what I bought them as. I want to say, oh, Caridina bobolti, or bobolti, and I just don't know. I never felt confident in what they were, so I never started selling them. Which that's just a good way to do it. But there are tiger shrimp in here that I will separate out and move over. But yeah, the rabbit snails are doing good. The yellows haven't started breeding yet, which you see here, but the chocolates haven't. That's where you see all these babies devouring Indian almond leaves. Next tank is an orange-eyed blue tiger tank, which also houses yellow rabbit snails that have been breeding like crazy. There's just tons of rabbit snails in here. I think I started off with 10 maybe in here, and now there's sorry for not focusing. I would say there's a good 40 in here, something like that. But the orange-eyed blue tigers have been doing really good. They took a while to get going, but now they're finally at the population where I can separate them and start another tank of them or call them, and it's good. I'm really excited about those because I've always wanted to keep them. I just haven't had great luck. This is a black tiger tank. As you can see, there's some really nice ones in here. There's also some weird snail. It's like a miniature rabbit snail, because it's definitely not Malaysian trumpet snails, because they're a little different in their shell pattern and color of the shell. And so I don't really know what they are. They came in on a plant and they've been taken over ever since. And then subwasser tank, as always, growing really well. And so this tank's getting broken down soon, and I'll move it over to the appropriate rack. This is a tangerine tiger tank and a yellow rabbit snail tank. This is one that it really hasn't done good for the tangerine tigers, but as you can see there's a really good amount of yellow rabbit snails in here. There's babies that are about inch and a quarter, and so that's always good. So I love the rabbit snails. That's definitely a fun thing. We got red tigers down here. These guys bred one time and that was it. And I mean, they breed a little bit, but not like they did the first time. So I'm excited to transition these guys to a new tank and see if I can really get their breeding going and really make them available, because again, tiger shrimp are hard to find nowadays. I don't know what changed, if China put in some regulations that they can't export them anymore. Whatever it is, they're getting harder and harder to find. This is a blue dream tank. Again, this is, I don't think I said, but this is the blue Neo rack. And so this is where I'm going to do all the blue dreams and blue velvets. And so this tank, there's a lot of buried females. There's one right there. I don't think there's any babies yet, but we're getting there. And this is a yellow rabbit snail tank also, which you can see back in the back, right where the gravel meets, or the sand meets the black. There's a baby there. There's a baby in the leaf. There's actually a couple babies in the leaves. And so the yellow rabbit snails are doing really well in these tank setups. Down here are blue velvets. Definitely some breeding going on in here. There are some babies in here. I don't think there's a ton, but they're getting there, and that's all that matters. Down here, I'm actually acclimating more blue velvets that I pulled out of a different tank into an existing tank. Oops. Sorry, the tank behind me was broken down and I didn't know it. These are more the blue Rillies, which are just a version of the blue velvet. It's just how the blue velvets are created. I don't know if I'm going to keep these guys or not. I gotta pull them out and actually see what their color is, because most of them are just babies. And then here's another tank of them over here, which again, it's hard to see, but these are tanks that I don't get in too often. This is a blue velvet tank, as you can see. This tank is doing well now. There's a couple babies, and so that's always a good thing. We had some die-offs to begin with, and it needed some extra attention, but it's finally got back to the point where they're breeding. There's a buried one at the bottom of the screen. So that's good. It's good to see. Here's another tank. This one had the one with the huge mama in it with tons of eggs, and those eggs have now hatched. And there's another big mama right there. Let me see if I can get her. She's being camera shy. But yeah, so the blue velvets are doing excellent. This is another blue dream tank. This one needs called heavily. As you can see, there's some really ugly ones, but I'm letting them breed once, see what the babies turn out to be, and then call from there. And there are some babies in here. Here's one right here. So this one needs called. This tank is actually doing good. It's bred a few times. I'm trying to look around right now and see if I see any babies. And oh, there's one on the. Oh, that's funny. There's one on the glass right in front of me. So they are doing well. The quality of them is pretty good thus far. I'm hoping the first generation of babies will look well also. Next rack, this is going to be the red rack. So right here we got red rillies. These were a combination of a couple tanks that I tore down. I need to go through and call there because there's some ugly ones, but that's just something that's on the to-do list. There's a baby right there, so there's a bunch in the back. So they're definitely breeding, which is a good sign. These are chocolate shrimp. These actually get a nice, really nice red coloration to them, and so eventually I'll try to selectively breed these, but it's just things are too busy right now. They do need a new tank though. Down here was a old red cherry shrimp tank that really never went anywhere, so there's still remnants of the old colony, but again needs broken down and reset. This is one that just recently got broken down. This tank is used to be the hospital tank. There's some fish in there, and really nothing ever happened with that one either, except for just hospitalization. Another red rilly tank. These are a lot nicer ones, but still could use some culling. Bloody Mary tank. This one, I keep meaning to get that one fire red out of there with the stripe on its head. And honestly, I'll probably scrap this whole colony just because he got in there. And the last thing you want is tarnished bloodline. And so if you're not 100% sure it's blue velvet, or not blue velvet, Bloody Mary, then it's just not worth keeping them. So that's probably what I'll do. I'll probably just scrap this and turn them into cherries or whatever, and see what happens. Down here is an old tank that had orange-eyed blue tigers in it. There's still a couple. There's one, let me see, right there. And then this one's actually one, two. Actually, that one is too because it has the orange eyes. So there are still a few in there, but not many. That tank really never did good, and I blame it on the black diamond blasting sand. Some of it's petroleum based, or they clean it with petroleum, which isn't good, and so that's why it isn't good for shrimp. So I don't use it anymore. I'm converting them all to the pool filtered sand. This is a fire red tank. I picked these fire reds up from a breeder, and I couldn't be more than happy with the quality of them. They are USA bred, which makes me thrilled. And so you can see they're just some extremely nice ones. Tons of eggs. There's quite a few babies in here, which is awesome. And so I'm just loving this tank. Up here you got some more fire reds, more like Sakuras to be honest. Sakura reds, which is just a lower grade of a fire red, but it's still higher than a cherry. And these guys are doing well. There was a buried one here. That might be her right there. Yeah, it looks like her, at least on the camera. Yeah, so this tank's doing good. It really is. It's just it's taking its time. Down here where I put most of the old colonies of fire reds that I had. Some of them need called out. Some of them are doing well. I also have the white spotted rabbit snails in here. I got some more of them. They haven't really done much, but we'll see if they start breeding. All right, off to the final rack before we get into like water changes and stuff like that. This is an old blue velvet tank, or blue dream tank. Some really nice females in here. That one in the middle on the back is beautiful. This tank never took off. It just never did much of anything, so it needs broken down and reset, and hopefully it can be turned into something good. Down here was an old chocolate shrimp tank. This tank did really well. It really did. It just never, it just got neglected, which I'm fixing. That's what part of the organization that I talked about in a previous video is getting more organized so that I don't slack off on certain tanks. So, old chocolate shrimp tank. This one is this is the Malawi tank. I was wondering, I was like, what are these? These are Malawi shrimp that I got in. I'm not sure what they're going to turn out to look like. Right now they just look like clear shrimp. And so They definitely are Caridina species because the rostrum, which is like their forehead pretty much, the thing that pokes out between their two eyes, the rostrum is pretty short, at least it looks to be. And they look to have some striping on them. So I'm interested to see what these guys turn out, how they turn out. Here's a good picture of one. Interesting little thing. So we'll see what happens. Down here is an old self-cloning crayfish tank. You know, they're still down there, but I need to get rid of them because I know Pennsylvania just passed a law that you're not allowed to sell crayfish in PA anymore, Pennsylvania. And so I don't foresee myself keeping crayfish for that reason. I don't want other states to follow and me have a ton of crayfish that I can't share. And so it's just one of those things. This is a carbon really tank that needs culled, but you know, it's doing good. There's quite a few buried females in there, which will give us some babies that we can then cull for and hopefully get more and more of the carbon pattern. There's some really nice buried ones. So I know Amanda's excited about that tank. Down here is a ton of chocolate snails, the chocolate rabbit snails. They've just been breeding non-stop. You can see them just devour. They killed that leaf, and so this tank is just dedicated to the rabbit snails for now. This is the Snowball Tank that's battling the bacteria infection. Hoping to clear it up soon, but it hasn't spread to any other shrimp, so that's a good thing. And so we're gonna see what happens with this. Again, I've been thinking about scrapping this tank, just for the reason that you know, I've had them for so long and they're so interbred that I don't think they're gonna do well. This is a royal blue cull tank, which some of them actually look really nice, but it started off as a cull tank. There's some awesome subwasser tank in here. I don't know what makes this stuff different, but the leaves are actually smaller, which I don't know if it's a different species of subwasser tank, but this one grows differently than all the other ones, and it might be because you know, no, because all the lighting is the same, so that's an invalid argument. I was going to say the lighting might be a little bit different back here. This is a Snowball Tank. There's a huge buried female in here, which my wife takes pictures of daily, and she's so excited about it. They finally have little black eyeballs on the eggs, and so she's counting down the days until she hatches. And so yeah, so this tank's doing really good. This is a orange-eyed blue tiger tank that needs moved. Some really nice ones in there. They've bred once, and I'm sure once I move them, they'll start breeding again. And so I'm looking forward to that. Up here I have some carbon rillies. These are actually there's some nicer ones in there. Once these start breeding, I'll be extremely happy. And so that'll be a little while. Although this one in the front has a saddle, which is a good thing. That's really good. So hopefully when we get back from the cruise, she'll be buried. And this is a chocolate shrimp tank that has some pretty much clear, absolutely clear shrimp. And so the clear shrimp actually look like the Malawas. It'd be funny if Malawas are just a smaller version of a chocolate shrimp. It'd be interesting. But again, that's why I have to breed them for a few generations and figure out what they are. And then these are also the white spotted rabbit snails. This tank of them has never bred either, so I might need to try something different, try some different temperatures, hardness, different things like that, and see if we can really get them breeding. So that is it as far as tank goes. I'm gonna pause the video and we're gonna go ahead and get into water changes. All right, so as far as water changes go, we're gonna start right from the beginning, and I'm gonna take you through the entire process. So all my water changes start out here. This is the RO filter, RODI, and it is capable of doing, I think, 1,000 gallons a day, and it makes the RO water here, which if you guys don't know what RO water is, it's reverse osmosis. It strips everything out of the water and makes it into completely pure water that has no added minerals or anything. So it makes that pure water. It goes into these 3 storage containers, which are 275 gallons a piece, I believe. And then from there, I have a pump that pumps the water up over here and into the shrimp room. So now we're gonna go into the shrimp room And the water then gets pumped up into these 100-gallon totes that sit on top of the shrimp tanks. I have one tote per, actually, yeah, pretty much one tote per side, because there's 6 sides, there's 6 totes. So these totes, let me see if I can, these valves right here, hopefully you guys can still hear me. These valves are what the water comes in from outside, goes in right here, it goes into these valves. And then I actually, to fill these up with water, I turn these valves on, it fills this tote up, turn it off, turn this one on, fill this one up, so on and so forth. And I actually remineralize the water up in these totes. So I'll do, X amount of scoops into each one of these totes to reach the total dissolved solids, the TDS that I need. And then I let these sit for 24 hours, sometimes 48 hours, just depending, with water in them to get them temperature acclimated to the room. So now this thing is completely filled with water. And then I drilled bulkheads into each one of these and then created these PVC pipes down here. So whenever I turn this valve on, it gravity feeds water down this hose and all through these hoses. And then on each individual tank, I have a valve. And so I turn this valve on, water will flow down into the tank and into this tank. So that's how I get my clean water into the tank. So now the water is going to fill up the tank. Eventually it's going to overflow. So I drilled each tank with bulkheads. There's a bulkhead back here. Let me see if I can get a better view on it. There's a bulkhead right there, and then I have a 90-degree angle coming up to raise the water level. So water flows in this corner, overflows out in that corner, and then once it overflows out of the tank, you can see I have this middle section, and it goes down into this pipe. This is just a breather end, or if I ever had to dump something in here, I could. And then it goes down to this pipe against the wall, which goes all the way to the drain on the other side. So that's how the water change system works. It's effective. It's flawed in certain areas, but overall it's effective. It's really convenient. To do this whole room of 96 tanks, it usually takes me no more than an hour. I mean, an hour tops to do all the water changes in here, maybe 30 minutes if I'm flying. And so it's really good. It's convenient in that aspect. It doesn't shock the shrimp. It gets temperature acclimated by being in the room, because I don't heat any of the tanks, so the room is just climate controlled. And that's how I do water changes. So let's move on to lighting, and I'll do a quick overview of lighting and how I handle that. So hold on one second. All right, so again, we're starting from the beginning and walking all the way through the lighting process. So out here in the warehouse area, I put in a new electrical panel because I'm an electrician. I wired it up, it comes over, and it meets into 2 timers. And these are hardwired timers. They each control half of the lighting per each rack. And so from here, it's still 120 volts, and the 120 volts come down and go into an LED converter, which converts AC to DC, and it changes it from 120 volts to 12 volts, or 14 or 15 volts, whatever it is, I don't remember. And so that goes into the shrimp room, which you see it goes into here. And so I bring that voltage in here, I route it all the way across, and it comes to a central location right here. It's behind this. So the main power comes into here, and so I have one on one timer, one on another timer, and then here I separate the positive and negative. So I'm not going to open up and show you that, but I used air conditioning wire, or thermostat wire, to route the positive and negative. And so I take each LED light, which these are custom made LED lights that I can explain. I take a thermostat wire, which carries your positive and negative, over to each one. So you guys can see right here, here's the one for this light, and it just controls this tank. And here's a bigger light. So this light controls 4 tanks, but it still only has 1 wire. That way, if one of these lights go bad, it won't take out all the other lights. It will just take out that one individual light. And so that's how I wired it. Now, how I actually built these lights, I used gutter, and then I used LEDs from eBay. I bought a whole bunch of them, and I'll actually show you this light down here so you guys can get a a better understanding. So these are just your 3 bulb. They're 6,500 Kelvin rating, so they're good. They're decent for plants. You know, it's about 12 inches above the tank, just so I can get my hands under them. And I siliconed each end of these so that they won't fall down. And this one consists of, I think there's 40 lights going down through here, 2 strips of 20, something like that. And as you can see, I mean, it lights up the tanks pretty good. It grows plants decent. This water tank, as you guys can see, does really good. The Java fern does really good. And again, try to stick to 6,500. Here's how I actually made the connections on the lights. So you got these 2 wires, which are the thermostat wires. You got your red, that's your positive, and your white, that's your negative. And then they go into this thing, and then you can disconnect this and reconnect it. So these are quick connect fittings. And then the opposite is for up here, positive, negative going there, positive, negative going to the other set of lights. And that's how I wired it. So that's my lighting. It's cheap, it's extremely cheap, and it costs next to nothing to run. And so lighting in this warehouse is not very much money as far as electric goes. The setup for it, I mean, it takes some time, but you're gonna get your savings back in just your electric costs and different things like that. And so I've migrated away from this system in my future racks, but at the time it was good. Still now it's good. It's just not exactly what I was looking for. And so now that honestly, because I'm decent with electrician, you know, or electrical, I'm an electrician. I think I have a good way to wire the next one. And so you guys can stay tuned for when I build the next room. And so so that's basically just a little bit of my fish room, or my shrimp room, more or less. And stay tuned next week, where I'll go in depth on some of my other racks, some different processes that I did, some different ways to do water changes, and just some different methods. I tried some different things, and there's a lot of good you can get out of those videos as well. And so, excuse me, I'm gonna get home and see my wife before she kills me. I know we got a lot of packing to do before we go on our honeymoon. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great week. Stay tuned for next week. I got another good video for you guys as far as the fish room goes. And I'll see you guys soon. Make it a great week. Later, guys.